Many times we don't understand the law. Law for the People with Eric Cedillo is here to inform, educate, and answer your legal questions. Thank you for tuning in today. From the law offices of Eric Cedillo, located at 1725 Greenville Avenue in Dallas, Texas, here's your host, Eric Cedillo.
Thank you so much for rejoining us today on Law for the People. I am very excited about this next guest that we have up. Her name is Monica Lira Bravo, and I'm just going to read a little thing that I have in front of me from the Dallas Morning News. She is running for, of course, trustee for our Dallas County Community College District. And the quote from the Morning News is, "She is the strongest candidate for District 4 of the Dallas County Community College District Board in a three-way race to succeed Bill Metzger, whose term is expiring. She is passionate about making higher education accessible and affordable to all. Lira Bravo, 34, owns her own law firm. She strikes us as energetic and comes with a record of leading organizations. Her can-do attitude is impressive, as is her dedication to bridge building. She wants to better connect DCCD with area school districts for more early college opportunities and believes the board has to improve its outreach to students." Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Monica. And Monica, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Thank you so much, by the way, for coming on to the show.
Sure. Thank you so much, Eric, for the invitation. The reason why I decided to run for the Dallas Community College Board is because I'm a strong believer in higher education and access to a quality education at a low price.
Okay.
A little bit about my background is, I grew up here in Dallas, the daughter of immigrants. My parents have less than a second grade education. And so, to get through college and law school, eventually become an attorney, I obviously had a lot of obstacles. I had to take out loans, scholarships to pay for my education. I'm still paying off my law school loans.
Yeah.
And so I get what our first generation college students are going through right now. And so more and more of our students nowadays are having to start off within the community college district because they cannot afford to go to a four-year university right away. And so I believe that if I can get on this board, I can help keep the tuition affordable so that students can keep on going to school. And eventually, if they want to go to the four-year university, they can transfer there. Or if they just want to get a trade certificate and then start working, that they have that option too. Right.
For me, I've always, been of the position that we kind of become, and we do, and things make us do a certain thing based on our past. Kind of growing up, specific instances of this or that. I think our parents have, especially within the Latino community, an incredible influence on what we do and what we become. So let's touch upon that a little bit, Monica. You'd mentioned that you were born here in the U.S., but your parents migrated here. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us about your family, your siblings, and others, and how you kind of got started.
Sure. So, like I mentioned, my parents are immigrants from Mexico. They came to the U.S. With my older siblings. So I was the firstborn in the United States.
Okay.
And so,
how many brothers and sisters older than you?
I have two.
Two.
And so I saw them at a young age go through their immigration process. That was one of the motivations for eventually pursuing immigration law.
Right.
But in the same time, I saw that they had that, that immigrant spirit that we see so much in our community of wanting to better themselves and coming here for better opportunities. For, my parents did it for us, so that we could have better opportunities rather than just being a mother,
Right.
and which is being a mother is great, but having a career, having access to education is also something very important. And so I feel like I have a lot to do, because I feel like every generation should do better than the next, right? And so I've been very fortunate that I've been able to get quality education along the way. And so that, of course, is part of who I am. And so I've mentored many students who have been first-generation high school, college students, even law students, because I know that I would not be here today without the help of other people.
Right. Your parents, you mentioned second grade education. What do you think? Because I know your sister, wonderful principal here in DISD. Still a principal, right?
Yeah, she's a principal. She will be opening up the first all-girls STEAM primary school in Dallas at Solar Preparatory at Bonham Elementary.
Right. I don't know that is it your other sister that you have? an older sister, right?
Yes.
I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to meet her. But you guys are educated, and your parents had a second grade education. What do you think? Was it your parents that kind of instilled in you? Because I know where you went to high school and that kind of path. Where do you think they kind of got the idea that that's the way to get ahead?
Well, they definitely instilled in us, I think, a good work ethic and discipline. And my oldest sister, Domingo, which you haven't met, she I think she kind of said it for us, and she started off actually at the community college level,
right?
Because she didn't know about the four-year university, she couldn't afford it, and so she's actually your prototypical student at DCCD, because she got married at a young age, had to go to school part-time because she worked full-time,
right?
Worked full-time, went to classes at night. Meanwhile, had 3 kids. It took her about 10 years to get her bachelor's degree, but she did it. And that's and so yes, of course, my parents had a great influence in that. But seeing one person in your family go through the system makes it easier for the rest of the family to follow.
Yeah, that's amazing. Younger siblings, or just the 2 older ones?
I have 1 younger sibling.
And where were your parents from Mexico?
My parents are from Guanajuato.
Guanajuato. Okay, and then you mentioned that your 2 older sisters were born in Mexico, and then you were the first one born here. And your younger sibling, what is it? A sister or brother?
It's a brother.
Okay, what does he do?
Brother. He works in the trade, in the tile industry.
And tile. And for you, in terms of growing up, I think you'd gone to, was it Hockaday?
I went to Hockaday for high school.
And what kind of got you there? What kind of pathway kind of led you to Hockaday, which is an incredible school?
Right. So, I grew up in East Dallas. I went to DISD schools. When I was in junior high at J. Long, my sister before me first went to Hockaday on a scholarship.
Okay.
And so when it became time for me to choose high schools, and Woodrow Wilson was my would have been my home high school, I was fortunate to also get a scholarship to go to Hockaday, and so that kind of put me on the track that I definitely knew I was going to go to college, because that's a college preparatory school,
right.
And so there's advisors, there's people who are very hands-on to make sure that you do the right thing. You take the SATs, you do the prep courses, you take the right classes, and so I was definitely college ready by the time I graduated.
Yeah. What do your parents do? What did your parents do for a living?
So for the majority of my life, my dad worked first at a clothes factory, just working in fabric, with clothes and stuff. And then once that factory closed down, because they I think relocated to a different place. Then he started getting into the custodial industry.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And mom?
And it's similar story, actually. She also worked in a different kind of factory, and then eventually, was laid off and stopped working.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you went to Hockaday, prepared you for college, had an opportunity to do that. Where'd you go to undergraduate?
And so I went to SMU for my undergrad degree.
Okay. Very expensive school. Hopefully you had some scholarships going in. Or?
Yeah, definitely. I was very fortunate that at that time, SMU was a little bit cheaper than it is now.
Just a little bit, a tad.
And I was able to get good scholarships, state and federal grants, and then the rest with loans.
Okay. And Texas Tech Law School?
And
Is that where you went?
And then I went to Texas Tech for law school, which, I decided to go public because I didn't want to incur more debt than I needed to. Yeah. And so, I took out, again, combination scholarships, loans, money that I had saved up from working. Right. And so at this point, that's what I'm paying off, my law school loans.
What kind of got you into or interested in law, Monica? What were you thinking?
I think for me, being an attorney, I saw it as a way that I could help people in a different way, and also because as a youngster, I saw my parents go through the immigration process, and I saw them get defrauded by an immigration attorney who basically just took advantage of them. And then, growing up, I just hear so many stories of other people who are in the same situation. So I felt as an attorney would be the best way that I could help my community, my family, and do things the right way.
Yeah. And you've been a practicing immigration attorney for how long?
I've been practicing for almost 9 years.
9 years. That's amazing, because at one point you were working with us for a period of time, and that just seems like it was yesterday. And you're absolutely right. There are some attorneys, unfortunately, who take advantage of folks in terms of what they do and how they do it. Over the last 9 years, quite honestly, I've heard nothing but great things about Monica in terms of her practice, your practice, and in terms of what you do. Let's talk about some of the other leadership roles that you kind of taken in the, with the bar and other things. Talk about those things.
Sure. So I recently just rolled off as the president of the Dallas Hispanic Bar Association. The Dallas Hispanic Bar Association is, a voluntary organization of Hispanic attorneys in town who get together not only, for their own benefit of networking and getting continuing education, but also to help the community and provide pro bono legal services to the Hispanic community.
Yeah. You want to talk about any highlights
Sure.
while you were president?
Sure. One of the things, the greatest things I'm proud of doing last year was we had our annual gala where we do a fundraiser to raise money for scholarships for law students and other diversity pipeline initiatives. And this past year was our 10th year doing that. So we had a really nice event at the Perot Museum and raised over $70,000.
Oh, that's amazing. Tell us a little bit about the unaccompanied minors,
Sure.
how the bar kind of assisted with that, because I thought it was an amazing thing that the local bar and specifically the Hispanic Bar Association was helping.
So in 2014, when we saw that there was a surge of children coming to this country from Central American countries like El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala, and we saw the conditions that they were being detained in, the Hispanic Bar, I think, was the leader in the country in stepping up and saying, how can we help? What can we do? As attorneys who speak the language, and some of us, who did have immigration backgrounds, and so we created a committee, and basically our committee liaisoned all the different nonprofits in town, and we even worked with Dallas County on coming up with ways to recruit volunteers, recruit attorneys who had no immigration knowledge to take on representation of these children in immigration court. Yeah, and so it was at a time when, it was just over the media, all over the media, and it was a negative impression. We tried to do as much as we could to help these children because obviously if they were being sent here, if they were coming on their own, it's because they were escaping pretty bad conditions in their home country.
And I got to be honest with you, I think, the Hispanic Bar Association is a myriad. It's got a lot of different types of attorneys and different practices, not solely immigration.
Right.
And I think one of the leadership roles that you took on was because of that background in immigration. Otherwise, it may not have happened. It takes individuals to be able to kind of go forward. So I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to applaud, your efforts and some of the things that you guys had done. But I just wish more people knew about it. But and hopefully they will now that we're mentioning it. So you've taken on a lot of leadership roles that have kind of given you an opportunity to see what it takes. You run your own law firm. You've been doing that for a period of time. Tell us what kind of specifically drove you to run for this particular office. You've never run for office before, public office before, right? Right. No, I mean, I've always seen myself as having an obligation to help the community, and I always have found different ways of doing it, whether it be through the Bar Association or being a member of the Southeast Dallas Chamber, or, I served on the Judicial Nominating Commission for the City of Dallas. I've always done some type of public service. And so in the past year, I got involved with the Latino Center for Leadership Development. Okay.
And so the whole idea of this program is to create new leaders for our city. And as somebody who grew up in Dallas and who cares about the future of our city, when I saw this opportunity for the Community College Board, and I saw the great work they're doing that people just do not know about, I realized that this was a great place where I could be of service. Yeah,
I have seen some of the, we talk about the amount of money that we have to pay to go to college, to go to a 4-year university, to go to a private school, incredibly expensive. The community colleges that we have in our area are just incredible in terms of the prices or the opportunity to gain an affordable education in a lot of ways. I think I'm not sure why we don't push this more to for me, it's always been, why not go there first and get an opportunity to, keep those, tuitions down until you can transfer to a four-year university. Why do you think that is?
I think, in speaking with not only, students, faculty, administrators, and community members, I think that the problem is that the community colleges have this negative stigma that, going there is basically like you're settling, like the goal should be to go to the four-year university straight off the bat. Unfortunately, even if you can get into the four-year university, you can't afford it. And this, right now the numbers are that 52% of college students in Texas are starting off at community colleges because of the high cost of higher education. And so one of my goals, if I were to get on this board, is to help figure out a way how we could do a positive marketing campaign to encourage more and more of our students, because some of them, what ends up happening is they'll go to the four-year university and then they can't afford it, or maybe their grades suffer and they have to go to work, and so then they end up going back to the community colleges. Whereas if they went there straight off the bat, they would save money, save time. The Dallas County Community College District has the second lowest tuition in the whole state, at $59 a credit hour.
That's amazing.
And most of and I think about 50% of the students who attend the district are able to get their tuition covered through Pell Grants.
Right.
And so if people did that as a first option, and exhausted their credits there, they could save that money for when they do need it, when they end up transferring to the four-year university. Also, that now there's this great opportunities with the partnerships with the local school districts to attend, the early college high schools, or to get dual credit at the same time, that you're in high school. So a little bit different from the AP, because with the dual credit, you're actually taking classes with a professor and you're getting the credit when you're done. There's some students who really take advantage of this and are able to graduate high school, not only a high school diploma, but also an associate's degree.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really want to get into that more extensively. We're going to take a quick break in a couple of minutes, but I think that's a wonderful opportunity for us to discuss kind of the relationship between our local independent school districts and our community colleges. I want to talk to you specifically, get some of your feedback or thoughts on what we can do more in terms of preparing our students that are coming out of our high schools and looking forward to really a new world in terms of, again, the expensive tuition with respect to four-year universities, and that community college district not only is a buffer, but a real opportunity to transition in. So let us take a quick break. Please rejoin us in about 2 minutes. Again, I'm speaking here with Monica Lira Bravo, who is running for DCCD trustee of District 4. And we'll be back in about 2 minutes. Please rejoin us.
Many times we don't understand the law. Law for the People with Eric Cedillo is here to inform, educate, and answer your legal questions. Thank you for tuning in today. From the law offices of Eric Cedillo, located at 1725 Greenville Avenue in Dallas, Texas. Here's your host, Eric Cedillo.
Hey guys, thank you so much for rejoining us. Once again, our guest today is Monica Lira Bravo, and she is running for trustee of Dallas County Community College District 4. Monica, we were just talking in the break. What the heck does a trustee for Dallas County Community College District actually do?
Sure. So the Board of Trustees, which is 7 people, one for each district in the county, basically sets the vision, the mission for the community college district. They hire the chancellor. They approve the budget. And the biggest thing that voters should know about is that they decide if there will be a property tax increase or decrease. About 4% of every property tax bill, the funding goes to fund the community college district. They also decide what tuition will be and decide if there needs to be any tuition increases.
I did not know that they actually set the property tax amounts. That's something that I've just learned today. So they basically have the ability to say how much, and we all pay property tax. We either do it through home ownership or even rents and things of that nature. So it really is important for everybody to kind of take that into consideration because it's there.
Right. So yeah, everybody talks about, the school district and about how, a big chunk of their property tax bill goes to fund the school district, but they forget
Right.
about the community college district. And that's why it's important to have good leaders who are going to be effective stewards of your tax dollars.
Right.
Because, this board makes some pretty big decisions that
Yeah.
affects us on a daily basis.
So you guys actually, I would imagine, would get input or make determinations in terms of whether or not there's enough monies for the actual students and the campuses, the infrastructure and other things, taking into consideration also, what the taxpayers want to do in terms of committing more monies to it.
Right. So part of it is looking at, what's the budget? What is the budget? Are we being effective with the money? Are we cutting efficiencies where needed? But also part of it is driven by the fact that state funding of the community college district has just been decreasing and decreasing. At one point, the funding for the community college district, more than 50% of it came from the state.
Yeah.
Currently, right now, it's only about 22%.
Yeah.
And so because of that, a big chunk of the funding, 55% of it, is coming from the local property taxes.
Right.
And the last 23% comes from tuition.
Right. I think that's what lots of people don't always realize is that the monies to do these things come from different sources. And if they cut the state budget, then you've got to either increase the property tax rate or reduce someplace else. So
Right.
very important obligations that the trustees have, fiduciary relationship with the taxpayers and everyone else. How many actual trustees are on this particular board?
So there's 7 trustees, 1 for each district.
Okay.
I'm running in District 4.
Okay.
District 4 covers the area around Eastfield College, which includes parts of East Dallas, parts of Pleasant Grove, and all of Mesquite, Sunnyvale, Box Springs, and Seagoville.
So we were talking to a potential candidate for DISD trustee earlier. And I think she was kind of mentioning that they have an obligation to look at the entire school district as well as their area, their district. Is that kind of the same thing with the trustees? Do you actually look at the campuses in your area and kind of
Definitely
focus on those things?
So obviously, my constituents would be the residents of District 4. However, if I'm on the board of trustees, I'm making decisions for the whole county, for
Right.
the whole district. So I mean, even though I will make sure to take into account what District 4 residents want, we also have to look at it globally and look at what's best for all 7 of the community colleges in the district.
Let's talk about that. The community colleges, you mentioned there's 7 of them, and I think I recall when these started actually, coming into being, maybe not the first few, but I remember when I think Brookhaven and a couple of others in the 70s started popping up, and I remember people talking about it. I don't know if it was my brother or my brother's friends. Hey, we're going to go to that new community college to start with. But talk about that in terms of how many students are we actually serving on these college campuses?
Sure. So last year, actually, the community college district celebrated its 50th anniversary.
Okay.
Not a lot of people know that because there was not good marketing on it. So,
yeah.
But El Centro was actually the first campus. They've done a good job of strategically placing these colleges all over the county, so that people will have access to them, to a school nearby them. There's about 72,000 students enrolled full time, but that doesn't include the students who go part time, who maybe are in a trade certificate program or who are pursuing maybe their ESL classes or GED degrees. Altogether, if you count all the students who participate in some form or manner, the number is actually closer to 100,000.
Oh, wow. I went to the University of Texas at Austin to start, but I had to take. I was kind of math deficient. I had to take a class before I went off to UT, and I remember them telling me, "You've got to take this class before you can enroll." I remember hearing that, so I ran down to El Centro. I said, "Please, you got to let me in," and they were very hesitant. I said, "If you don't let me in, I'm not going to get to start school," and I was really concerned about that. I had a wonderful experience there at El Centro, and that was kind of the first college that I attended. Dual credit. I think this is an amazing program, an amazing opportunity, an amazing partnership between, I think, DISD and the community college district. Tell us a little bit about what that is, and you know, if you have your druthers, would that be something that you would push to increase?
Sure. So I think you know, there's dual credit, and then there's the early college high school. So there are two different concepts.
Okay.
And so the concept that is really you know, blossoming right now, and specifically with, you know, we have partnerships with different school districts,
Right.
but the one with Dallas ISD is really growing. There's about 10 more schools that will be added in the next year or so.
Oh, wow. How many currently?
There's about
are out there?
8.
8?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so, you know.
Explain what they are. What does that mean?
So
to the folks
basically,
listening?
what it is, it's, you know, a school within a school. And so, for example, Trini Garza at Mountain View College. And so you basically have high school students going to a college campus. In some instances, it's in their home high school, and they can take college-level courses while they're still in high school.
Right.
And so the first 2 years of the program, freshmen and sophomores, you're taking classes with a college professor, but just with other high school students.
Uh-huh.
And then your junior and senior year, you're actually taking classes with normal college students. So you're
Yeah.
intermingling, and you're getting to engage in these discussions,
Yeah.
you know, with adults, because, you know, the average age of a community college student is 27 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so they're being exposed to college, not only college level courses and professors, but also students,
Yeah.
you know, who have varied life experiences,
Yeah.
and who can, you know, affect them as well. And so the idea is, if a student, you know, maximizes their credit opportunities, they could graduate high school with both an associate's and a high school diploma at no cost to them.
That's amazing.
Because the community college district basically picks up the bill, and the student does not have to pay anything for these credits.
I think we always make the assumption that ultimately what you want to be doing is attaining your highest level of education possible. Certainly an option, certainly something that you'd want to have options to do and other things. But talk to me a little bit about what you think, could a community college associate's degree be an end of itself? How does that assist? How does that help someone gain employment, if that's what it is they're looking at?
Right. So I think, you know, for every student, it's different. One thing that we have seen a bigger push for now is to have more trade programs, more certificate programs that will basically be enough for the student. And so there's been an expansion, in the welding industry, plumbing degrees, mechanics degrees. That trade fills up very quickly,
Right.
those classes, because these are jobs that, you do the program, some of them are less than a year.
Yeah.
Some of them might be a little bit over a year. You have a guaranteed job making $50,000 or $60,000 a year. Whereas, there's people with bachelor's degrees who can't find jobs. And so, especially with the coming of more industries into town, what we're seeing is that we need a more skilled labor force, and we don't need everybody to get a bachelor's
Right.
degree. We need people to be skilled in all these different trades. Seagoville High School actually is getting what they call P-Tech, professional tech, early college high school.
Okay.
That will be more trade oriented, and so they won't necessarily have to pursue a further degree.
Yeah, options for people to kind of figure out what path they want to take. And being here from Texas, where it gets very hot lots of the time, I would imagine HVAC programs.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and
Yes.
those guys make some money, so always something to kind of consider and think about. Okay, Monica, you have got an election coming up. Tell us a little bit about when that is, and what people need to know about the voting and the current. I think we're in early voting right now, and kind of again where your district for what it covers.
Sure. So the election day is next Saturday, May 7th. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Early voting is already ongoing. I encourage everyone to go. Today it ends at 5. Tomorrow it's 8 to 5.
Okay.
Sunday we're looking at 1 to 6. And then Monday and Tuesday will be the last 2 days. And you can go 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on DallasCountyVotes.org. You can look up all the different polling locations. This is a May local election. The turnout is generally lower than normal, and so this is why every vote matters, and especially because it's a local race, and everybody cares about who our president is. And yes, that is important. But these local decisions are the ones that impact our lives on a direct basis, because these are the elections, school board, community college board, city council. These are the elections that decide how we live our lives every day in our community. And so it's very important that we engage. Besides my race, there's 2 other districts for the community college board who are also having elections, and they're all open seats.
Okay.
And so
do you know what districts those are?
District 2 and District 3.
Okay.
District 3 is the Garland area, northeast part of town. District 2 is northwest and part of downtown, uptown area. And so this board is going to drastically change, next week. And so it's important that as many people can get engaged in the process.
Yeah. We've had an opportunity over the last few months to go to some of the high schools and register voters and do some other things. A lot of questions about, where I can vote, what early voting is, and all those things. Early voting, of course, you can vote at any polling location. On voting day, of course, you go to your assigned polling place. So things for people to think about if you can't make it on one day. Vote early, either today or Monday or Tuesday in terms of early voting. I've looked at my sample ballot. I went to DallasCountyVotes.org, and of course you're on there with our other guest, so I'll definitely be voting for you on voting day. I do like, to kind of go out on voting day and kind of make that a tradition in terms of when I do that, but I make sure that I get out there and vote. We'd encourage all of you folks who are listening to do the same, exercise your right to vote. And remember, Monica Lira Bravo, she's just done so much for our community, Monica, in such a relatively short period of time. You've just contributed so much, and I just look forward to you getting on as a trustee with the community college district, and I look forward to so many other things that I'm going to see, and I know you're going to contribute and help out in the community in the future. Any parting words before we let you get out of here?
No, I would just say, if you want more information about my campaign, you can go on my website. It's my name, MonicaLiraBravo.com.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Monica, and you have a wonderful weekend. And remember, guys, get out there and vote. Thank you once again for listening to Law for the People. Please tune in next Friday from 1 to 3 and every Friday after that. You guys have a wonderful weekend and just a blessed day. Thanks again.
The law offices of Eric Cedillo, a professional corporation, a firm that handles legal matters in personal injury, auto and truck accidents, wrongful death, on-the-job injuries, criminal felony and misdemeanor, family law, divorce, and child custody. The law offices of Eric Cedillo, located at 1725 Greenville Avenue in Dallas at 214-740-1628. That's 214-740-1628. Find them on the web at cedillolaw.com. That's cedillolaw.com.